Welcome to Time Well Spent, a podcast from LaborSync, the only real-time multilingual timesheet software your business will ever need. So, picture this for a second. It's Friday, right? Like 4:30 p.m.
The end of a very long, brutal week.
Exactly. A crew member is, sitting in the cab of a hot truck after days of heavy lifting, and they're staring at this crumpled paper timesheet.
Just trying to remember what time they clocked out on, like, Tuesday.
Right, so they just write down 8 hours and call it a day. Today, we're pulling from a recent LaborSync blog article to look at why that exact moment of guessing is quietly washing away your profit margins. We're bringing the golden rule of carpentry, measure twice, cut once, right into the back office.
It is so strange how precision gets compartmentalized on a job site. I mean, you would never let a crew just eyeball the foundation of a new building.
Oh, definitely not.
Or guess the length of a steel support beam. Yet, when it comes to time tracking and payroll, guessing is, well, it's practically the industry standard. And that creates this massive liability known as administrative debt.
Because writing down 8 hours days later isn't it isn't a measurement at all. It's an estimate.
Exactly.
It's like trying to remember exactly what you had for breakfast 4 days ago. Add exhaustion and weather to the mix, and the brain naturally just defaults to round numbers.
Right, and let's look at the actual mechanics of those round numbers. Say a worker actually put in 7 hours and 15 minutes on site, plus maybe 45 minutes sitting at a drive-thru.
Oh, man, yeah.
So if you pay out that rounded 8 hours, you're bleeding cash on unworked time. But the administrative debt really compounds when someone in the office has to, hunt down the discrepancies. You end up paying twice.
Wait, paying twice? How so?
Well, once for the inaccurate time, and then again for the administrative hours spent fixing the mistake.
Because human memory is just a terrible measuring tool, which means bad data enters the system right at the source.
Which brings us to a concept in operations called the Rule of 10. It basically explains how the cost of fixing an error multiplies the further it travels through your system.
Okay, so break that down for us.
Catching it at the source by having an employee clock in digitally in real time costs you roughly $1. It's virtually zero friction.
Right.
But let that bad data travel to the office on a Friday, where an admin is struggling to cross-reference messy handwriting against actual job progress, and that fix now costs $10 in lost productivity.
Let me stop you there, though, because I hear a lot of pushback from operations managers who say, getting my crews to use a digital app is going to cause a mutiny.
Oh, sure. The friction argument.
They argue that their crews aren't tech-savvy, they hate more paperwork, and forcing a new system on them is a massive headache. How do you justify the friction of making that switch?
It's a valid concern, but the premise that digital equals more paperwork is totally flawed.
Yeah.
Paper is the friction. It gets lost, it gets rained on, and it requires manual data entry later.
That's a really good point.
And the true nightmare scenario, the $100 tier, the rule of 10, happens when you avoid that initial digital setup.
Yeah.
That's when an unverified paper timesheet turns into an inaccurate invoice, and the client...
Oh, wait, and the client checks their doorbell camera.
Exactly. They see the crew left at 2 p.m., and they completely dispute the bill. The $100 cost isn't just the lost revenue, it's the permanent destruction of client trust. Digital tracking actually removes paperwork because it automates the measurement.
Wow. So the bad data doesn't just inflate payroll, it infects your historical data too. If your time tracking is a guess, your job costing is essentially pure fiction.
Precisely. Job costing relies on knowing the exact labor burden for specific tasks. If you don't have that mechanism in place, you are flying blind when you bid your next project.
Because you might consistently underbid since your historical data masks inefficiencies, right? Or you overbid and lose the contract entirely.
Spot on. But when the system handles the measuring objectively, it takes the emotion out of it. The software becomes the enforcer, so the manager doesn't have to be.
And that eliminates friction across the board. Employees know they are getting paid for the exact minutes they work, and clients know they aren't being overcharged.
Which leads to this fascinating paradox. Putting a strict tracking system in place actually reduces micromanagement. You don't have to call your foreman to verify hours because the system validates the location and time automatically.
It forces you to ask, where in your business are you currently just guessing?
Because time and money are the foundational materials of any operation.
And unlike copper or lumber, you can't run down to the hardware store to buy more time. Stop turning your days into scrap wood you can never get back. Start measuring twice on the administrative side and protect your margins.
Absolutely.
Before we go, here is a final thought for you to chew on. If your historical data is built entirely on a foundation of guesses, how many of your future growth goals are actually just wishes? Take some time to evaluate that this week. This episode of Time Well Spent was brought to you by LaborSync. Track employee hours and job site locations in real time from any device. Start your risk-free trial today at laborsync.com.